Hey Cafe crew, it's Colin Smith here from Photoshop Cafe, and today what I'm going to talk about is what are designers looking for in photography that they want to incorporate into their design, specifically when it comes to submitting photographs to Adobe Stock. What is it that designers really want? If you understand that, then your photographs are going to be much more successful. So I'm in a good position to bring this information because I've kind of had one foot in each of these worlds for the last couple of decades, working as both a designer and a photographer in both of these industries. So why don't we start with what's the number one thing that designers are looking for when they're browsing through millions of photographs, looking for that one photograph that's going to be the one they want to use in their campaign. Actually, there's a number of things, but the first thing that's going to grab their attention is storytelling. You want your photograph to tell a strong story. What is this story of? You want to make it very clear in your photograph, not a cluttered photo with lots of things everywhere, but you want to have a very clear, defined subject and a very clear story and a message that you're telling. If you do that, you're going to be much more successful and there's going to be more chance it's going to pick up an art director's eye. So one of the things you want to do is when you're shooting a scene or a shot, is give some options, give some variations. So try shooting it from different angles, different distances, different things like that. Maybe some with a shallow depth of field, some with a very wide depth of field. And then that way it gives a designer a lot of choices when it comes to using it. Two big topics are lifestyle and workplace. Now, when you do these type of photographs, what you want to do is make them look authentic and natural. You don't want them to look set up or posed or unnatural because those are not really going to appeal to designers. Say, for example, there's a client that makes guitars. They want that model to be holding the guitar in the way a proper musician would hold it. If they're holding it all wrong and weird, they're not going to approve that image and it's not going to work. So in situations like that, when people are doing specialized things, try and find people that are actually the real deal to do that. Now, having said that, when it comes to lifestyle and things like that, sometimes working with professional models can actually be a lot easier than working with people who aren't, because the models can relax in front of the camera, whereas a lot of people can be uncomfortable in front of the camera. And if people are nervous and they're deer in the headlights, that really shows. Other things that can be really popular are topical and seasonal. Let me explain that. Topical is something that starts to trend on the news. If you see a topic that's starting to become big, what you want to do is get your pictures, upload them, and get them there so you can get ahead of that trend. So your photos are already in there, they're indexed, and they're discoverable by the time people start looking for those photos. So get in early on those. So other things are very seasonal, such as things like Halloween or Thanksgiving or 4th of July. These types of photographs, seasonal, fireworks, all these kinds of things. You want to make sure you get those photos in early. Have a look at a calendar, see what holidays are coming up, see what big dates are coming up, and start to plan your shooting around that so you can get your photos shot, edited, and uploaded well in advance of these busy seasons. And one of the things I really can't emphasize enough is you want to have some diversity to your photographs. You want to have a variety of photographs. So you want to have some young people, some old people, some men, some women. Think about that in the workplace. Men in the workplace, women in the workplace. So have a little variety. And then when you have group photos, don't be afraid to shoot the group with a nice mix of culture, age, sex, and these can be a lot more appealing for advertisers who are looking to either, one, target a particular demographic, or number two, go for a demographic which is broad. So they want to show families, they want to show different kinds of diversity. That's very important. Let's talk about the photographs themselves, a little bit more technical. Now, one of the things I already mentioned is when you shoot the photograph, try to make the subject very clear. You don't want it cluttered, a lot of things going on. Yes, you could crop it in tight, but be aware of that. When you're shooting the photograph, leave some space. Try not to crop in too tight, because what you want to do is a couple of things. One, you want to leave space for type and design elements, logos, different things like that. And also let the designer crop it in and change it, because you don't know if they're going to be using a portrait or landscape orientation. And on that note, when you're shooting things, don't forget to sometimes turn your camera and shoot some portraits. Don't shoot them all landscapes. Magazines, for example, magazine ads, it's a portrait orientation. Websites, it's a landscape orientation. So make sure you include both. And a couple of little just technical style things. Make sure that when you shoot photographs, have some that have very, very soft, smooth backgrounds. Shallow depth of field works really well because those soft, smooth, gradiated areas really appeal to designers because it gives a punch right there of your subject, and then you've got a very smooth, uncluttered background, which leaves lots of room for the design elements. Be aware of creating a photograph that's very high contrast over the whole photo. If you do that, it's very difficult to put any kind of type on there that's going to pop. I like to test it with maybe a black type and a white type. And you know what? The best designs, one of those is going to just stand out really well. If, it's so cluttered that you can't get the black type to read, you can't get the white type to read, it's going to be highly unlikely that image is going to be used. So be aware of that. And another thing too is be aware of the colors in the photograph. Try and find colors that are matching. If you've got a background, maybe you're shooting someone, try moving around a little bit and seeing different backgrounds. One, you want them uncluttered. And two, looking for colors. You don't want colors that are distracting in the background and pulling away from the subject, or just too much color going on in the scene. Try and find harmonious colors, and sometimes that could be as simple as placing objects in there and changing the scene a little bit. It's okay to bring in some plants or pull some things out, move things around a little bit. Maybe you get the model to put a different colored top on. These are all kinds of different things that you can do that are going to make these photographs more appealing. And finally, resist the temptation to over-process your photographs. I know people love to create the Instagram look where, we're doing a split tone thing and throwing color in the shadows, throwing a little color in the highlights, or maybe we're doing, the blockbuster look, where we're putting those teals into the shadows and those yellows and oranges into the highlights. Be aware of doing that. You know what? If the designer wants to apply these kind of effects, let them have the flexibility to do that themselves. If you over-process the photos, it's really going to limit what they can do with those photographs. Maybe they're working with a different palette. Maybe they're going a different direction. So be very careful with the stylization, and at the same time retouching. Don't over-retouch the photographs. Just make them look natural. Make sure your exposure is set right. Make sure your white balance is set right. Don't over-sharpen, but just get a nice sharpness in there. Good, clean, quality photographs. That's what people are looking for. And by the way, if you want more information about this, check out, I've got a link underneath there where I'm going to point to a really great guide that Adobe has. It's the Contributor's Guide. It's a wonderful PDF that has a lot of information in there about submitting to Adobe Stock. I find it really useful, and it's going to answer a lot of the questions. While you're at it, there's also a link under there where you can become a contributor and you can sell your stock on Adobe Stock. You're going to get your photos in front of millions of people, and also you can make some extra revenue from it. So anyway, guys, I'm going to have other tutorials in the future where we're going to be talking about tips for selling and searching and having them found. But what I wanted to do in this video is just give you some good tips on what kind of photographs to create and some little things to watch out for if you want to be more successful in selling your photographs as stock. So anyway, guys, I hope you liked this video. If you did, smash that like button into dust. Now, I'm curious, are you guys contributing? How many of you are contributing right now? Yes or no? Drop a comment in there. Let me know. Are you contributing? If so, how's it going for you? If not, why not? What are the barriers that are stopping you wanting to contribute your photographs? So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. And until next time, I'll see you at the cafe.